Okay, so today I can't be with you because I'm learning stuff, which there's always lifelong learning, right? So I'll be learning some things with some of the other teachers, and I need you to see if you can create something without me. So here's the ultimate challenge is, when I'm in the classroom, sometimes I want to help you so badly, and I see you and I want you to struggle through it yourself, but then I'm like, oh, I know how to solve that problem. I'll go help that kid. And I help you really quickly. And what ends up happening is that I'm solving your problems too quickly for you. I need you to work through them. I want to see what you can do without me here. So what I want you to do is create an abstract drawing using drawing materials. And I'm going to show you how to do it on the screen. And as soon as you kind of understand how to do it, you can kind of draw along with me. That's fine. But then we can also replay it. You can back it up if you have questions. I just want a real light line. We're going to be drawing back on top of these lines with a thicker drawing material. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But we're going to draw on top of it thicker, which means you can't draw really tiny itty bitty little things. So those of you who like math and tiny little intricate things, make sure you think big. Also draw light so that you can erase. Feel free to erase and adjust as you go through. I want you to do that. And I want you to create a composition that looks really balanced and very interesting, along with making some things change within your piece. Like maybe it's a pencil, but does it have to be straight? Can it bend? A lot of different things, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But really challenge yourself to create things that go over and under other things. They can disappear into a hole of the paper and then come back out. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so I want this done for Friday. I want to see the sketch that you started today. You should have time to almost finish an entire sketch today. If you finish one, I want you to do another one that's different. Challenge yourself to be different in each one, and we'll use them all, okay? So good luck, be nice to your substitute, and make sure you use the drawing materials the right way. I don't want to hear that anybody has been doing something that they're not supposed to be doing with drawing materials. They're going to stay at your table. Some of them are sharp. You're going to be careful because you're big kids. You're going to be careful, okay? Make sure you treat your substitute with respect. Make sure you do the right thing and you act with integrity. I'll see you tomorrow. Create a composition today. Ooh, I don't know which way I want to turn this when I'm finished. Create a composition that is abstract and kind of bends your art materials around. You can use any of the ones there. You don't have to use all of them. I really dig this. This one's kind of cool. And drawing the edge of this might be kind of interesting too. So that one might be a nice one. There's a lot of different stuff you could do, and you could turn one material into another. What if you had a paintbrush / Sharpie / marker, pencil? Something like turns into something crazy. All right? So you could do all kinds of different things, but I want one of these sketches ready for me when I come back on Friday, so that I can see it and we can tweak it a little bit and then do stuff to it. So if you mess up, just keep erasing until you get it the way you want it. Good luck. Okay, previously we've talked about how to take things that we see and draw them as realistically as possible. And then we spoke briefly about how to abstract lines and to look at something and then change it. So your challenge today is, without me with you, can you look at some different drawing materials and create an abstract artwork that is balanced and is an abstraction of these drawing materials. So something real simple like these. Got lots of straight lines that you can work with, but we can also look at these things and then bend them. As an artist, you can choose which lines you want to keep and which ones you want to alter or change, and that's abstraction. So what you're going to do to begin is find the drawing material that you like the best. Okay, so I'm going to take any art or a drawing material. You might take a really easy one just to begin with, and you're going to start looking at it and drawing from it. I'm going to start with a pencil here, and I'm just looking at it as I draw and trying to work with light lines, and also being free to think about, like, what could it do. So now I've got a pencil tip here. I want to draw pretty big, And I can do some crazy stuff like make that pencil tip look like it becomes something else. Like maybe I'm going to make it into a smaller line, and then maybe it gets bigger and goes off page. Okay? So now I've got this beginning of an interesting project. I think now that I've done that, I can say, okay, what if that pencil tip had an eraser on it? I think this a lot is a game of what if. So what I'm going to do is actually build the eraser first. That way I can kind of do my connecting lines. So I'm noticing that there's a shape here, and I notice that the metal part of it goes out past it. So I'm still using my eyes to notice things, but I'm also being free enough as an artist to change what I notice and to kind of push the limits of what could be created. And I'm noticing there's some lines here. Sometimes, another thing I've seen with pencils is that they sometimes have little circles. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Even though I don't see it, I've seen it before, and I'm using my past experiences. And then I'm going to kind of make this feel like it went off the page and back on by kind of giving a small bending curve there. So it looks like now that my pencil came from nowhere and is coming out at me, and it's bigger here. Okay. Another thing I'd like for you to try is, can you put some things underneath other things? So let's say I want to put this crayon on. I think I want to make it go the opposite way. So like maybe I'm going to, and you can turn your paper, and you're thinking of building an interesting composition that also has balance. So if I'm going to put a crayon on, I want to think about like how much of it, how big I want it to be in proportion. It's up to me. It's up to me on this because it's an abstraction. And then what I think I'm going to do is keep this one a little shorter than it actually is, just so it's more interesting on my page. And I notice that it comes, when that paper is on there, it comes out a little differently. And then I'm going to change the size of this a little bit, but I'm going to keep the shape. So I made it a little skinnier than it actually is. I'm going to keep the shape so that it still looks like a crayon paper. And then the Crayola part, I don't know if I'm going to keep or not. I'm deciding. This up here, I know I want. Let me think about that for a minute. So as you're working, you don't have to be committed right off the bat. You can always change things. And then this edge, I noticed, does this. And then I'm going to make this look like a used crayon. Like we've been using it for a while. And it doesn't have to be, my crayon is white, but when I create color on this later, this could end up having lots of other different things that it could be. Another material we could work with is a paintbrush. So like maybe I could have this paintbrush coming in somehow and maybe shooting through, let's see, couldn't I have it come underneath that? It would be nice if it went over top and through. It might be too crowded there though. Let me think. Ooh, I've got it. What if I took it and it just came up through that part right there? So what if I took my paintbrush and I'm looking at it, this is a new one, and kind of mess with it a little bit. And then the tip of this does that, but I think I want it to do this. So as an artist, I can kind of explore it a little bit. I'm going to make the tip of that kind of go like that. And then I notice the barrel kind of connects this way. So remember, you can change it and make it more to fit your needs. But you also want to look at it so it still reads as being the same object. I notice here it has these little connecting pieces of metal. It's like little curved out parts of the metal before it hits the actual brush handle. And then we'll make that brush handle go off. Maybe this is going to go this way. And I'm going to make it so that this pencil goes underneath. So you want to think about playing around a little bit with what goes on top of what goes underneath. Now I've got a paintbrush. Trying to draw with the paintbrush. Now I've got a paintbrush that goes underneath. I might create like a little bit of a texture of the brush. Buck that out a little bit. Make that come out just a little bit so that it looks like what it is. Okay, so now I have a brush tip, and what sometimes could happen, ooh, I kind of like it that direction. So maybe I've already changed the way I think I want my picture to go, and you can think more about this as well later. Maybe I want to think about like maybe what the paintbrush might be doing, like dripping paint. So maybe behind this crayon, I'm gonna, and then, so now I've got paint dripping down, and I might create like a puddle in this space. Something like that. So you can kind of see, actually I think more of a drop there. And then this part, when I add color later, maybe I'll do more there. No. If I go too thin, I won't be able to put my material on that you're going to work with. That's about as thin as you would want to go. So like that would be pencil tip. Now right now, a lot of my eye movement is here. Like it's drawing me off the page. So what I want to do is do something to bring me back on. So what I might do is make another curve that comes on. Goes off the page and comes back on. This could end up being maybe a Sharpie marker. Okay, so if I'm looking at a Sharpie, if this is the cap, I could put the cap right here, turn that into the cap of the Sharpie, and then maybe do a little bit of work right here to make sure people understand that that's going to be my cap of my Sharpie. Actually, I need to drop it down a little bit longer because the caps on Sharpies are pretty long. Do a little bit of work on making sure that it's understood, because really art is all about communication, and if you're not communicating what you're trying to get, it'll be some confusion. Hey, it's kind of like marriage, just as a side note. Okay, so that maybe turns into more of a cap on a Sharpie. Okay, you can kind of play with that. I would probably play with that more and make sure that read right. And then this part is going to be, let's say that cap was on the back. This part, what I'm going to do is kind of look at this part of the Sharpie. Now at first I was not real happy with that line, and in my head something happened. Here's what happens. Your brain tells you that it's bad and that you're a bad artist. Don't listen to it. That's just your judgment side of your brain. And judgment sides of brains are really good. However, sometimes they can tell you negative stuff when you don't need to hear negative stuff. It's really good for your judgment side of your brain to say, hey, don't jump off that building when you're standing on top of a building. But sometimes it's not such a good thing when it tells you that you're not very good at something when you've just had a first couple of tries at it. So you just have to have enough sense to tell it to hush a little bit and to give you a chance to succeed. Okay, so I'm looking here, because I've probably drawn this line like 6 times now. And finally I think I've got what I want. Something like that. I'm not so sure about this side yet. I drew a bad line. That doesn't mean I'm a bad artist. That means I just need to try it again. I've got a whole basement full of artwork that is not so successful, but brought me to where I needed to be so that I could create all the artwork that's upstairs in my house. It's a process, okay? So you get it to where you want it. Okay, so now I've got like a Sharpie that's bending around. All right? So that took a while. That one did not flow out of me as quickly as this one did. And sometimes that happens. And you just have to kind of keep working with it. I really like this though, and I might want to use that Sharpie idea down here too. Also, on the back of your paper, could you please make sure when you're finished, or remember, I don't know if I remember, I began this and I didn't like it. So I had to restart it on the back. If you restart twice, you could erase, all right? But I just happened to just flip it over. Don't freak out if you have to restart. I did, okay? And then you're gonna put your name and your class period, like whatever your class code is, on the back. But do it at the end so that if you wanted to flip over your paper, you could, okay? Remember not to draw it too dark so that you can adjust and change your lines. Good luck. Have fun. Behave.